Now, Michaela is back in the loft and she joins us to chat about her baking journey, how competing on a professional level has made her the baker that she is today, and what it takes to be a diamond specialist. Welcome back to the loft, Michaela.
It's so good to be around you again. I've missed you. It's been like 2 years.
Girl, you know, the only way we can catch up with you these days is on social media. But I'm not beefing, but I'm low-key beefing because what this COVID pandemic has done has taken our lives, turned it upside down and said, deal with it. So how have you been since we last saw each other?
I've been a lot more active in life. I keep piling on hobbies. Like that's what I do, and it's problematic. And I'm always like, oh, I'm so tired. But then I keep going. And I think you do the same thing too.
Guilty.
Yeah. But also, I think from when I started out with you, I was so timid on set in comparison to how I am now. I'm kind of like, well, this is how I am, and people have accepted it that way, so we're just going with it. So today's going to be crazy.
So are you so much more comfortable with being in the hot seat and making sure that you are now center stage?
Probably. But also, I think it comes with age. You just start accepting yourself for what you are, and you just go with it.
You love yourself, kinks and all, and that's what I really appreciate about you, Michaela. You're just such a vibrant energy, and I can only imagine little 4-year-old Michaela walking around and running around the kitchen with her auntie, because I do believe that's where you got your cooking inspiration from.
Food's always been a very integral part of our family. It's brought us together. Every Sunday, we'd go to my grandparents' farm, and we'd all eat together, and it was compulsory. You had to be there every single week. And my mom used to work all the time, so I used to be babysat by my aunt, and she is one hell of a chef and baker, and my whole family is basically, but it was mostly with her. And she would make cupcakes and all our birthday cakes, and she'd go all out with them. Like if you wanted a Power Rangers cake, you would get that. So we'd spend like days just rolling out dough, and she'd let me cut them and let me decorate cupcakes. And it was the best way to grow up because it's very tactile, and that's what I love about baking. Baking and cooking in general, it's just a very hands-on. If you make a mistake, you know, you learn from it and you carry on.
But I can imagine that baking is a lot less forgiving than cooking. If you make a mistake in cooking, you can almost fix it, do this, add that, take away a little bit of that. But if you make a mistake in baking, is that not it?
Yes. If you don't know the basics of baking, then it's very much the way it goes. I'm more of a baker where like I learn a basic recipe and then I adjust accordingly thereafter, because you kind of know what the general science is behind it, and it allows you to edit to a certain degree. Like you can change up flavors and use a basic recipe, like for instance the vanilla cupcakes we're going to use today. I substitute any kind of flavor with that because I know the texture of the actual cake is so good. Yeah.
So it allows you to play. Now talk to me, when it goes to now competing, baking, doing what you love, your passion, but on a competitive level, I'm pretty sure that changes the game completely. So do you use that same kind of, or did you rather use that same flexibility, being able to think on your feet, and also being able to fix mistakes when you fundamentally get something wrong? Were you able to use that in the competition?
Definitely. And I think the thing that people don't know about like when you're competing on these shows is you get a time limit, that's it. If you mess up, you mess up.
So wait, those are real? Those aren't just like fake?
No, everyone thought that like they'd tell you, okay, you have 4 hours, and then if you made a mistake, they'd pause it and allow you to fix it.
Yeah.
No. So the way that our set worked was you had your 4 hours, and the second a producer who was sitting in the back saw you make a mistake, he'd send all the camera crews to you, and you'd be swarmed, and they'd all film you panicking, and you're like, please don't.
Yeah, don't eliminate me.
Yeah.
Being in such a pressure cooker, I can only just imagine it, and I can almost illustrate it as a pressure cooker. How has that helped you become the baker you are today?
I think it allowed me to become more forgiving of myself, whereas before I was very harsh and like, you know, can't make mistakes, it has to be perfect. After that, I learned like you're in a situation where mistakes will happen and you have to accept it. And that's been like the best thing for me. And I also think after doing that, I was allowed to be myself and like decide that I really love doing this. And I want to share that love with other people. Which is such a good thing about food.
And I also almost want to give you a bit of like a Wuzza moment. That is something so beautiful because, yes, you are using the same kind of principle for baking, but I can almost copy and paste that same principle throughout life.
Exactly.
Don't be so hard on yourself. Pick yourself up, try again in the words of the late, great Elia, and be able to, you know, forge through. So that's exactly what we're going to be doing today. Today, it is all about baking. What are you going to be teaching us today that's a little bit different and adds Michaela's own je ne sais quoi to the recipe?
The traditional cupcake recipe is usually quite a dense base because you want something that's very good at supporting your icing. I find the thing I have a problem with a lot of like store-bought cupcakes is the ratio of cake to icing is usually quite off, and then you end up scraping off more than half of it. And the cake itself usually doesn't have much to it.
Yeah.
So with my recipe, I like to think that the cake is something you could eat on its own, but it's so much better with icing on.
That is going to be a real challenge because someone like me who does not have a sweet tooth, it's not easy to kind of sell me on just the cake or just the icing. So here you are going to be teaching me how to get it right each and every time. Now, something that I also can only imagine that you need a whole lot of precision, a whole lot of aim and accuracy is in your speciality. Now, being a diamond specialist, girl, what is that and where do I sign up?
So everyone always asks me how I actually got into it. I technically studied to be a professional ballet dancer. But then long story short, I didn't have the right body type. I was always considered like too fat, and it was just such a hectic complex. And somehow in my life, I ended up working in the jewelry industry. And I have a certificate to grade diamonds and everything. And in my job, I run the manufacturing and the after sales and also the procurement of diamonds. Oh. And I also sometimes do client valuations, so I have to assess the diamonds. We estimate the color and quality of it if the clients don't have certificates for it. So it's all very much based on a scale of color. And when it comes to diamonds, you start from colorless, which is D, and you move all the way down till they can go like Z, but you don't usually judge that. From then onwards, it's like a yellow diamond.
Okay, sure.
And depending on where you are on the scale of the color gradient, the value of the diamond differs. But I often tell people that the most important thing for me would always be the clarity of the diamond.
Yes.
Because you don't want to see huge black marks in your diamond. You need it to be clean.
Crystal clear.
Exactly.
I like that. Well, Michaela, we are baking it up in the kitchen today. So on social media, we want to find out from you, if you could only eat one baked treat for the rest of your life, what would it be? Remember to include that hashtag Afternoon Express in all of your comments. Coming up, Chef Dumi bakes blueberry ginger biscuits, and then we're making a delicious cupcake recipe with Michaela.